What happens when the entire internet decides to rewrite your life, complete with scandalous rumors, wild speculation, and strangers filling in details that never existed? Most celebrities panic. They scramble for their PR teams, type out emotional notes app statements, or disappear from the spotlight until the noise dies down. But Vanessa Bryant? She didn't flinch, she didn't run, and she didn't give the headlines the satisfaction of a drawn-out battle. Instead, she shut the whole thing down with 3 Instagram story posts, memes no less, that flipped the energy back on the gossip mill and left the internet stunned. It all began in late May 2025. A whisper started circulating online. Vanessa Bryant might be pregnant. On its own, that would have been enough to generate buzz. But the rumor didn't stop there. It came with a provocative detail. The alleged father? A young baller. No name, no face, just a tantalizing phrase vague enough to get everyone guessing. And guess they did. TikTok exploded with amateur sleuths combing through her photos. YouTube commentators went live, speculating in real time. Twitter threads popped up, analyzing everything from her wardrobe choices to the timing of her public appearances. It didn't matter that no credible source confirmed anything. Social media thrives on possibility, not proof. Then came the escalation. Some posts claimed that none other than LeBron James had confirmed the rumor, naming the young baller as Jaylen Brown. That added a nuclear layer to the story. A Lakers legend's widow, allegedly involved with a Celtics star, with the NBA's current face acting as the supposed source. The drama was too juicy for the gossip cycle to ignore. By the time June rolled around, the story was everywhere, from shady blogs to sports talk shows. But Vanessa didn't say a word. The silence made people even hungrier for a reaction. What they got instead was a masterclass in subtle strategic communication. And this is where the story turns from messy rumor to something much bigger. Because what Vanessa did next didn't just kill a story. It set a new standard for how to win against the internet without ever stepping into the ring. But to really understand why her move was so powerful, we need to take a step back and look at where she was coming from. To understand why this rumor hit so hard and why Vanessa's response landed like a knockout punch, you have to understand the position she's been in for the last 5 years. When Kobe Bryant passed away in that tragic helicopter crash on January 26, 2020, along with their daughter Gianna, the basketball world stood still. For fans, it was the loss of an icon. For Vanessa, it was the loss of her husband, her partner of 2 decades, and the father of her children. Overnight, she went from living a relatively private life to being the public face of Kobe's legacy. In the years since, Vanessa has carefully navigated her role as both a mother and a public figure. She's raised her daughters, Natalia, now 22, Bianca, 8, and Capri, 5, while running the Mamba and Mambachita Sports Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to creating opportunities for underserved athletes. Every decision she's made in public has been deliberate. Every word has been measured. And for the most part, people have respected that. But there's a certain unspoken truth about fame. The longer you stay in the public eye, the more people feel entitled to your story. And when you're connected to someone as legendary as Kobe, that entitlement multiplies. Fans don't just want to know what you're doing. They want to believe they have a say in how you live your life. Since 2020, Vanessa's appearances have mostly been tied to honoring Kobe's memory, speaking at his memorial, attending jersey retirement ceremonies, collaborating with Nike on limited edition releases. She's been seen at Lakers games and NBA events, but always in a dignified, understated way. No flashy headlines, no messy controversies. That's why the pregnancy rumor was so jarring. It wasn't just idle gossip. It felt, to many, like a violation of the unspoken boundary the public had maintained for years. Add in the young baller twist, and suddenly people were treating her personal life like a sports trade rumor. Worse, the story started to mutate. Social media threads began speculating about how such a relationship might affect Kobe's legacy. Some posts framed it as a betrayal of the Lakers. Others used it as clickbait to stir up fan rivalries, especially when the Jaylen Brown name started floating around. And then, the LeBron James angle. The idea that he had somehow confirmed or revealed the rumor made it all the more explosive. Whether people believed it or not, it gave the story the illusion of credibility. If a superstar of LeBron's stature was involved even indirectly, then it must have been worth paying attention to, right? By early June, Vanessa found herself at the center of an internet firestorm she never asked for. But here's the thing about storms. They can knock you down, or you can use their momentum to send your own wave right back. And when Vanessa finally broke her silence, she didn't just respond, she flipped the script entirely. That's when the world got its first glimpse of the 3 Instagram stories that would stop the rumor dead in its tracks. It started like most modern scandals do, quietly, almost invisibly, in the shadows of gossip accounts and throwaway social media profiles. One person heard something, another person confirmed it without proof, and before long, screenshots were circulating faster than anyone could track. The claim was simple enough to stick in people's minds. Vanessa Bryant is pregnant. But the phrase that came with it, by a young baller, turned a quiet whisper into an online wildfire. The vagueness was part of the magic. A young baller could mean almost anyone in the NBA, giving fans endless room to speculate. TikTok creators jumped on the trend, some pretending to spill tea, while others reacted dramatically to the alleged news. Instagram gossip pages reposted it with captions like, "Sources say this could be the biggest NBA relationship twist of the year." And on Twitter, threads spun wildly, pairing random photos of Vanessa at games with young players sitting courtside, claiming, "Look at the body language." Then came the so-called insider leaks. A handful of posts began hinting that the younger player in question was 27 years old, a detail that narrowed the field just enough to make people feel like they were piecing together a mystery. That's when the rumor mutated into something even bigger. In one viral post, someone claimed LeBron James had slipped up and revealed the identity of the player, allegedly naming Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. This detail injected a whole new layer of drama. It wasn't just about Vanessa possibly dating someone younger. It was about her supposedly being involved with a player from the Lakers' biggest historic rival, the Celtics. The fact that LeBron was dragged into it made the story irresistible. He's the face of the NBA, the leader of the Lakers, and someone who has publicly shown respect and support for the Bryant family for years. The thought of him revealing intimate details about Kobe's widow's personal life, it clashed with everything fans thought they knew about him, and that contradiction made the claim spread even faster. By this point, the story wasn't confined to niche gossip accounts. YouTube commentary channels were uploading full timelines of Vanessa's alleged romance. Facebook groups were debating whether Kobe would have approved. Even sports forums, usually focused on game stats and trades, were picking apart Vanessa's public appearances for evidence. And here's the problem with internet rumors. The more people talk, the more real they feel, regardless of truth. The line between actual journalism and speculation blurs until there's no difference at all in the public's mind. For Vanessa, the noise must have been deafening. But instead of rushing to defend herself, she stayed silent. And that silence made the rumor even louder. People assumed she was waiting to address it, which kept them refreshing her Instagram like it was breaking news coverage. Then, on a warm afternoon in early June, the silence broke. Not with a press release, not with a lawyer's statement, but with something so unexpected that it instantly flipped the entire narrative. And it all started with Rihanna flipping the bird. The day Vanessa Bryant finally responded, you could almost feel the collective pause across social media. People had been refreshing her Instagram for days, waiting for a tearful denial, a fiery rant, or maybe a carefully typed Notes app statement. What they got instead was pure, effortless shade. Her first Instagram story slide stopped people mid-scroll. A photo of Rihanna, mid-strut, sunglasses on, casually flipping off the camera. The caption written over the image read, "Me protecting my peace, not pregnant, and having fun all summer." It was short, director, and laced with a confidence that instantly told the world, "I'm not here to entertain your nonsense." But she didn't stop there. The next slide was another meme, this time with text that read, "I'm not mean, I'm just not the one." If the first post was a swat at the rumor, this one was a straight-up boundary line. She wasn't going to play nice just to keep strangers comfortable. She was reminding everyone that she had survived far worse than gossip and wasn't about to let it shake her now. And then came the third slide, which shifted the tone from snappy to thoughtful. "The only way to impress me is by being a good person. I don't care what you have, what you wear, where you live, or what you drive." This was the quiet mic drop. It reframed the conversation entirely. Away from NBA players, away from speculation, and back to her values. It's important to note what she didn't do. She didn't name the young baller. She didn't even hint at the LeBron angle. She didn't write paragraphs defending herself. And in doing so, she denied the rumor the validation it was desperately seeking. The delivery method was just as strategic as the message. Instagram stories disappear in 24 hours. They can't be shared in feed without screenshots. They feel casual, almost offhand, but that's the beauty of it. Vanessa's posts looked like something she could have whipped up while sipping coffee, not a coordinated PR attack. That casualness made them sting even more. Fans went wild. Twitter lit up with people praising her as the queen of clapbacks. TikTok creators stitched her posts into videos breaking down the power moves in her approach. Even people who weren't Vanessa fans found themselves admiring the sheer efficiency of the response. And perhaps the most satisfying part? The tone shift. Just hours earlier, the conversation had been dominated by rumor, speculation, and drama. By the end of the day, the headlines weren't about whether Vanessa was pregnant. They were about how brilliantly she shut down the gossip. With 3 quick posts, she'd taken back control of the narrative and put the internet in check. But the real genius of her move wasn't just what she said. It was why it worked so perfectly. And to see that, you have to look at the psychology behind her response. Vanessa Bryant's response wasn't just a lucky swipe at the rumor mill. It was a textbook example of strategic communication in the digital age. 3 slides, less than 30 seconds of screen time, and the narrative was dead. But the brilliance wasn't in what she said. It was in how she said it and what she chose to leave out. First, she avoided the trap of direct engagement. The moment you repeat a rumor to deny it, you've already given it weight. Saying, "I'm not pregnant by a young baller," still forces the audience to visualize that exact scenario. By contrast, Vanessa's "protecting my peace" line didn't just refute the claim, it reframed the conversation entirely. Instead of playing defense, she shifted the focus to self-care and boundaries. Second, she embraced tone over detail. The Rihanna meme wasn't about evidence, it was about attitude. The visual of Rihanna flipping the bird spoke louder than any paragraph of explanations could. It communicated, "This rumor isn't even worth my serious attention." That choice instantly changed the power dynamic. Instead of chasing the conversation, she positioned herself as above it. Third, she understood the value of brevity. The internet thrives on speed. Long statements get dissected, misquoted, and taken out of context. Her short, punchy slides left no room for twisting her words. They were shareable in their entirety, memes in themselves, which meant her version of the story traveled faster than the rumor it was shutting down. Fourth, she played the timing game. By waiting several days before responding, she allowed the rumor to peak in visibility. That way, when she finally did post, her response hit maximum impact. Had she answered immediately, her posts might have gotten lost in the early chaos. By holding back, she ensured the world was watching when she spoke. Fifth, she controlled her platform. Instagram stories were the perfect choice. They disappear in 24 hours, making her refusal to dwell on the topic crystal clear. They also force people to screenshot if they want to share, giving her plausible deniability about intent. And unlike a permanent post, a story feels offhand and personal, closer to a friend rolling their eyes at a group chat than a celebrity addressing millions. Lastly, she layered her message hierarchy. Slide 1 killed the rumor. Slide 2 set the boundary. Slide 3 reminded people of her values. It wasn't just about denial. It was about resetting the tone of how she wants to be talked about, moving forward. The result? She didn't just extinguish the fire. She left scorched earth behind, making it harder for similar rumors to take root in the future. And in a media environment that loves nothing more than a celebrity meltdown, she gave them nothing. No shaky video, no defensive tone, no missteps to replay on loop. By the time her stories expired, the conversation had flipped completely. People weren't debating the rumor anymore. They were praising her for dismantling it so elegantly. But beyond the mechanics of her clapback, there was something deeper happening. Her approach tapped into bigger cultural conversations about women, widowhood, and who gets to decide how someone should live after loss. And that's where this story goes beyond gossip. It becomes a cultural flashpoint. When the smoke cleared from Vanessa Bryant's Instagram strike, the conversation shifted, but not entirely in the way people expected. Yes, the memes had silenced the pregnancy chatter, but in its place came something more revealing. a debate about why the rumor had gotten so much traction in the first place. At the core of it was a cultural double standard, one that has been lurking for decades but tends to erupt when high-profile women, especially widows, step outside of the public's unspoken rules. For many fans, Vanessa will always be connected to Kobe Bryant, not just because of their marriage, but because she became the face of his legacy after his death. She has been the one attending tributes, organizing charity events, and telling the world how she wants him remembered. In the eyes of those fans, any romantic life she might have is automatically seen through the lens of what would Kobe think? It's a mindset rooted in an old-fashioned, almost possessive view of widowhood, especially for women. The idea that a woman can grieve deeply and still move forward with her personal life is uncomfortable for some people. And when you add celebrity status into the mix, the scrutiny multiplies. The young baller twist only intensified things. There's a subtle but powerful judgment baked into that phrase. Not just that she might be dating, but that she might be dating someone younger, someone in the very league where Kobe reigned. To some, that wasn't just gossip. It was a symbolic betrayal, a storyline that threatened the carefully preserved image of Kobe as a family man, and by extension, Vanessa as the eternal, loyal widow. The supposed LeBron James connection, while unfounded, played into that same tension. If true, it would have meant an NBA elder statesman breaking an unwritten code of silence around Kobe's family. Whether people believed it or not didn't matter. The idea was enough to stir emotional reactions. And here's where social media's role becomes impossible to ignore. Platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram have a way of flattening complex human realities into quick, judgmental sound bites. A woman's entire reputation can be debated by strangers who know her only through curated posts and public appearances. The pregnancy rumor wasn't just a personal invasion, it was a reminder of how quickly a woman's private life can be turned into public property. Vanessa's memes weren't just funny or sassy. They were a direct challenge to those unspoken rules. By refusing to address the rumor with solemnity, she signaled that she rejected the premise entirely. She didn't owe anyone an explanation, and she certainly didn't need to live her life according to an audience's script. For her supporters, that was empowering. For her critics, it was frustrating. They wanted drama, and she denied them the spectacle. And for everyone watching in between, it was a lesson in how a single, confident choice can reframe a conversation entirely. But the ripple effects didn't stop at cultural commentary. Her strategy also revealed something about the media machine itself, how traditional outlets struggled to respond when the story they were chasing evaporated overnight. Which brings us to the next chapter, how the media scrambled, and why her method exposed a blind spot in the way celebrity news is handled. When Vanessa Bryant's Instagram stories went live, the media reaction was instant and telling. Outlets that had spent days chasing a rumor suddenly found themselves with nothing concrete to run. There was no official statement to quote, no interview to clip, no press conference to dissect. Instead, they had 3 fleeting slides, each vanishing after 24 hours, leaving only the screenshots that fans scrambled to grab. For traditional celebrity news outlets, this was unfamiliar territory. Crisis management responses are usually designed for media consumption. Prepared statements, publicist quotes, or exclusive sit-downs. Vanessa's approach bypassed all of that. She didn't feed TMZ or E! News. She fed her own audience directly, on her own terms. And because her posts were casual memes rather than polished PR material, they were nearly impossible for the media to frame as breaking news in the conventional sense. How do you sensationalize a story when the subject herself is clearly unbothered? The tone of her response forced outlets to cover it as more of a cultural moment than a scandal. Headlines read less like accusations and more like applause. Vanessa Bryant shuts down rumors with Rihanna meme, or Vanessa laughs off pregnancy talk in style. It also revealed something about the media's dependency on celebrity vulnerability. When stars break down publicly, it fuels days of coverage. When they lash out, it creates click-worthy controversy. But Vanessa's delivery gave them neither. Her message was confident, concise, and immune to further speculation. The result? The rumor's shelf life collapsed almost overnight. This move didn't just serve her in the moment, it set a precedent for how other public figures might handle similar storms. She showed that you don't have to match the intensity of a rumor with an equally intense rebuttal. Sometimes, a measured, even playful response strips the power from gossip faster than any aggressive counterattack. From a legacy standpoint, Vanessa's handling of the situation also reinforced her image as a figure of strength and control. For 5 years, she's been the steward of Kobe's memory, carefully balancing public appearances with her own privacy. By sidestepping the rumor rather than engaging with it, she demonstrated that she can defend her personal life without compromising that balance. International coverage underscored this point. Publications outside the US, from the UK to India, focused less on the details of the rumor and more on the brilliant reply aspect of her response. The universal takeaway was that she had outmaneuvered the gossip cycle, keeping her dignity intact while making the story work in her favor. In a way, her approach also future-proofed her against similar attacks. By showing that she won't take the bait, she's made it less rewarding for gossip outlets to target her with sensational claims. The message was clear. If you come for Vanessa Bryant, be ready to be ignored or turned into a punchline. But beyond the tactical win, there's a bigger takeaway here. One about control, personal agency, and the kind of power that doesn't require shouting to be heard. And that's the perfect setup for our final segment, the conclusion, where we pull together the lessons, the legacy, and why this wasn't just a rumor. It was a power move. In the end, the pregnancy rumor that once seemed ready to dominate headlines for weeks didn't even survive the weekend. What began as a speculative whisper turned into a frenzy, only to be dismantled by 3 Instagram stories that disappeared in 24 hours. Vanessa Bryant's handling of the situation wasn't just a clever clapback, it was a masterclass in modern reputation management. She understood something that many public figures miss. Not every attack requires a counterstrike, and not every rumor deserves to be dignified with a lengthy defense. Sometimes the smartest move is to sidestep the arena entirely, delivering your message in a way that signals confidence, self-control, and unbothered authority. The power of her response wasn't in its complexity, it was in its restraint. She didn't name names, she didn't confirm details, she didn't even pretend to be outraged. Instead, she reframed the conversation around her values, peace, boundaries, and character, effectively taking the audience's attention away from the drama and placing it where she wanted it. And in doing so, she reminded everyone that privacy is still possible, even for someone whose life is constantly under a microscope. You can't control what people say about you, but you can control how much access you give them to your energy. It's worth remembering that Vanessa has been living under extraordinary scrutiny for years. Since Kobe's passing, every public move she's made has been analyzed, compared, and judged. In that context, her choice to respond with humor and poise wasn't just about shutting down one rumor, it was about reinforcing her long-term narrative, that she is more than just Kobe's widow, more than a tabloid headline, and entirely capable of steering her own story. The cultural ripple effect was just as important as the immediate outcome. Her memes became a symbol for refusing to bow to public pressure, particularly for women, especially widows, whose personal choices are too often policed by strangers. In a digital world where outrage sells and vulnerability is monetized, Vanessa reminded us that dignity can still win. For her critics, the lack of detail might have been frustrating. They wanted answers, drama, maybe even a public feud. But for her supporters, the absence of those things was the point. She didn't feed the rumor, she starved it. And a rumor without fuel burns out fast. From a legacy perspective, this moment will likely be remembered less for the gossip that sparked it, and more for the way she handled it. It will be one of those stories retold as an example of how to control a narrative without ever appearing to try. In the end, Vanessa Bryant didn't just shut down a false rumor. She reminded everyone watching that silence paired with confidence can be louder than the most explosive statement. Sometimes the strongest move isn't to fight the fire, it's to let it choke on its own smoke. And for anyone paying attention, that's a lesson worth remembering the next time the internet tries to write your story for you.